back again with another what I watched in the last month video, and this is for the month of September. I have a lot of Netflix recommendations and some really fun shows and movies to kind of get you into the Halloween spirits, because that's what I'm all about right now. The first film I have to start off with is Malignant, because it is the film that pretty much everybody's been talking about right now. It is a 2021 horror thriller by James Wan, and he is the same director for Saw and Insidious and The Conjuring, so I think everybody had like really high expectations. It's on HBO Max right now if you want to watch it. Paralyzed by fear from shocking visions, a woman's torment worsens as she discovers her waking dreams are terrifying realities. The first half of this film was kind of slow and kind of like a standard horror movie, I guess. And it becomes a little bit more like an investigation, crime. And then the last third of this movie is just chaotic, kind of ridiculous, took a different turn. It definitely becomes more of like an action film. It's campy horror, I would say. I think he did it on purpose. I know a lot of people are going back and forth like, what happened? I think he was just trying to get away from his standard style of horror movies and kind of go for something a little different. And I think it's meant to be ridiculous. It's fun. I liked it. I'm not saying it's one of my favorite films by him. I still prefer his Conjuring, Insidious style films, but I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people are really upset with it, and I know a lot of people love it. So I'm kind of in the middle. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. It's enjoyable. The next film I want to talk about is actually my favorite film that we saw this entire month, and it's definitely under the radar. I'm sure most people have not seen this film, and if you have, please let me know and comment down below, because I don't think it's very popular and I'm sure most of you have never seen it. It's called Dave Made a Maze, and it is a 2017 little weird hidden gem of a film. It's actually free on Vudu, Tubi, and I think on Amazon Prime. Dave is a frustrated artist who has yet to accomplish anything significant in his career. So he built a fort out of cardboard boxes in his living room, only to wind up trapped by the fantastic pitfalls and critters of his own creation. It's definitely a fun ride, and if you appreciate films that are kind of more like, I don't know, not like every other film, silly, almost childlike. I liked how creative they were with representing, like, for example, if it's blood, they would use like confetti, and like they represented horror-like things in like a kid-like fashion. I don't know, it was very cool. I love the film. The next film on this list is another one that I highly recommend, and I also think it's one of those films that is under the radar. It's called Superhost, and it's a 2021 horror thriller that is on Shudder and I believe Amazon Prime as well. Two travel vloggers check into a vacation rental with a host that will do anything for a good review. Another fun film, but this one hits a little bit more at home because it's about two vloggers on YouTube who go to an Airbnb and are reviewing the Superhost, which, by the way, the actress who plays the Superhost in this film is amazing. She's awesome. It definitely plays off the concept of, you know, YouTube and subscribers and views and clicks. Starts off a little bit more as a dark comedy, but then shifts over into horror by the end. So it's, to me, it's a fun ride. And I think it's pretty light on the horror side. So if you're someone who's a little bit more like sensitive to horror and you don't want to watch something too, I guess, aggressive or too scary, or this is like the perfect film. I have one more film that I really want to mention that is also under the radar, probably a little bit of a hidden gem. I don't know many people have seen it or heard of it. It's called Scare Me. It's another fun twist of a horror film. It's not your standard style horror, and definitely the least intense out of all of these. In fact, this one is the most mild in the horror. It plays off of horror concepts, but there's not a lot of visuals in this movie. Two strangers tell scary stories in a cabin during a power outage. It's one of those films that takes place all in one location. They're always going to be in this cabin, pretty much, and they're just literally telling stories. But they're using facial expressions and voices and props and, I guess, like your imagination to create the horror stories so that you actually can feel like those stories are coming to life. But there's no special effects, there's no actual monsters in this film. It's all just kind of an imagination type of thing. And I thought it was a really cool idea for a horror film that is more on the unique, creative side. I don't think it's a film that you should take seriously. It's definitely on the silly side as well. I think all of these are kind of more like dark comedy and not so much like legit horror films. And I think they are all great options to watch after watching all those serious horror films during the month of October, and you're looking for something maybe a little bit more like, you know, subdued. These are fun, and we really enjoyed them. So let me know if you end up checking any of them out. Netflix has been pouring out some good shows this month, and we've been on it. The first one's called Squid Game, and I'm sure you've either seen it on the top 10 list of Netflix, but it is definitely trending right now, so I'm sure you've heard of it. It is a 2021 Netflix drama, and this is their first season, so I'm curious to see if they will have a second season, and I think they probably will. Hundreds of cash-strapped contestants accept an invitation to compete in children's games for a tempting prize, but the stakes are deadly. The original language is Korean, so we did decide to go with the English dub, and the only complaint I have is that sometimes when you watch shows with an English dub, it kind of takes away a little bit from the acting, because the voice, I don't know, the voice actors of the English dub aren't always the best. I mean, I just don't want to read subtitles, but if you put that to the side, it was actually a really, really, really good show. I enjoyed it. I think the Squid Game itself is a cool concept, but even more is the connection you get to each character and their story. There is just so much tension. It's addicting. We definitely went through it pretty fast and could not turn it off. It also doesn't hold back. It can be pretty violent and harsh sometimes, so not for the sensitive, I would say. It's pretty brutal. It deals with the struggles between surviving and doing the right thing. Worth a watch. The next show is called Clickbait, and I'm sure also you've heard of this one because, again, it's one of those popular shows that was trending that everybody was talking about. It is also a 2021 Netflix miniseries. Probably not gonna have a second season. I don't know, maybe. I don't think so though. I think it wraps up, but who knows. When a family man, Nick Brewer, is abducted in a crime with a sinister online twist, those closest to him race to uncover who is behind it and why. If you've seen the trailer, then you've seen that basically he gets taken and they take him and they make him hold a sign that says, "When I reach 5 million views, I will die." So that's how it starts. It's definitely like a whodunit style show, but with more of like a serious tone. It does dive into each character. Every episode is focusing on one character that is somehow involved in the mystery. My only complaint with the show is that I never really felt super connected to any of the characters. I always felt like they kind of were a little far away. I don't know. Like I didn't really get too invested in the characters themselves. I was more invested in the general story and just trying to understand what happened exactly. I do like that the show does touch topics of today, like social media and catfishing and cancel culture. So the next show I'm going to talk about is the best show I've seen in a very long time. In fact, it is the #1 show or general recommendation from this entire video. If you get anything out of this video, at least make sure to watch this next recommendation. Love on the Spectrum. Hands down the best dating show ever on TV. It is on Netflix and it's currently on season 2. We did watch season 1, I think it was like 2 years ago or something like that. 7 young adults on the autism spectrum dive headfirst into the dating pool, exploring the unpredictable world of love and relationships. This show is just the kind of show that like warms your heart, and it's just such a beautiful show. They're so transparent and pure-hearted, and you just can't help but fall in love with each and every single one of them. Especially Michael. He's kind of like the main guy. He is amazing. He is the cutest. I spent the whole show smiling like an idiot. They seriously all say the funniest things in the most innocent way, and they have just no filters. They say whatever they think, and all of them have something so unique and special about them that they offer, and it's just, I can't express enough how much I love this show, and I think that everybody should watch this show because it'll just make your heart warm and fuzzy inside. The focus of the show is to really help these young adults work through their social anxiety and their lack of social skills and learn how to gain confidence and how to communicate better with another person and to learn what you're looking for in a partner and what you want in life. And it's really a great premise for a show because it's not just about dating, but it's about teaching them how to date, and in the process they're learning more about themselves. I will say the last episode involves a wedding and I was crying happy tears. It was the best ending. Season 1 has a little bit more, I guess, disappointment in it. There's a little bit more challenges in season 1, and then a lot of the same characters in season 1 end up in season 2. I think a lot of them end up growing and evolving from season 1. So by season 2, they're a little bit more confident, they know what they want, and you can see them have more luck, if that makes sense. So season 2 is a little bit more successful than season 1. I will say I enjoyed season 2 like way more than season 1, but season 1 is good too. And you kind of have to watch season 1 because the same people are in season 2 and then you won't really understand. But they also introduced a lot of new people in season 2. Just watch it, okay? Just watch it, trust me, and get back to me and let me know what you think. The next Netflix show is called Money Heist, aka Casa de Papel, since it's a Spanish show, but you know, we watch the English dub, which also takes away sometimes from the experience, unfortunately, but I just don't want to read subtitles the whole time. Season 5 just came out and the show started in 2017, I believe, and it has held up, so I'm still invested. The only problem is that whenever I hate watching shows that you have to wait like a whole year or more to see the next season, because by the time that the season comes out, you already forgot the little details from the last season. A criminal mastermind who goes by the Professor has a plan to pull off the biggest heist in recorded history, to print billions of euros in the Royal Mint of Spain. To help him carry out this ambitious plan, he recruits 8 people with certain abilities who have nothing to lose. I will say I still think the first 2 seasons were the best, but doesn't mean that I don't think that it's still worth watching. To this point, I just think that the funnest part of the show was definitely in the beginning. And that's kind of how it is with most shows, right? I don't know. And I really do think they did such a good job with all the characters. All the actors and the characters in the show are great. So definitely worth the watch if you haven't checked it out. The next 2 shows I'm going to mention, we're currently in the middle of them, so I don't want to say too much. I'm just going to kind of like give a little quick synopsis, but I can't say exactly all my feelings and thoughts yet because we haven't finished them. But the first one is Midnight Mass. And it just came out. It's on Netflix. It's a horror and it's directed by the same director, Mike Flanagan, who directed The Haunting of Hill House. The arrival of a charismatic priest brings miracles, mysteries, and renewed religious fever to a dying town. It's a slow burn and it has our curiosity, so we're watching it. I know everybody's watching it kind of right now. It feels like that. Everybody's talking about Midnight Mass right now, so I think it's worth watching so far, but I haven't seen the ending yet, so hopefully it holds up. I think it's more on the supernatural side compared to The Haunting of Hill House, which, speaking of, is the other show we're kind of watching right now. The Haunting of Hill House is only 1 season and it's from 2018. We're watching it now for real because we tried watching it back then, and I think it's such a slow burn that we kind of got like, we didn't get invested and we like kind of stopped watching. So this time we're trying to actually watch it. Flashing between past and present, a fractured family confronts haunting memories of their old home and the terrifying events that drive them from it. I think the flashing back and forth part really threw me off at first. It gets kind of confusing. They shift between past and present, and they're kids and then they're adults and then there's 5 different kids. Both of these shows are slow burns. I guess that's just his style, which off the bat isn't something I usually like, but it's going somewhere, and I think hopefully it's going somewhere good. Next up, we have a show that's not on Netflix actually, but it's the Creepshow anthology series. It started in 2019 and I believe there's 3 seasons right now. Each episode is a different story and each episode has 2 different stories in it, so it's great for those with a short attention span. It's basically just a bunch of short horror films, which is something we like, kind of like Twilight Zone and Black Mirror, where every single episode has nothing to do with each other. They're all just little stories, but this one's all related to horror and different aspects and styles of horror, which I like. Sometimes it's supernatural, sometimes it's a ghost story, sometimes it's more like a slasher or murder type of thing. It's a hit or miss. Obviously, you're not gonna like every single episode, and that's the only downfall, but still fun and I think worth watching, and it's perfect to get you into the Halloween spirit. Also, we've never watched the Creepshow movie. That might be one of my 31 movies for Halloween in October. Also, I know that American Horror Story has now an anthology style series where they're doing different stories, and I haven't seen it yet, and I'm curious to know if you have, and if you have, let me know what you think. And should I watch it? Is it worth it? Now we're gonna talk about a film that everybody's been talking about, and that's Cinderella. The 2021 Cinderella musical romance film with Camila Cabello as Cinderella. It also has James Corden and Idina Menzel. It's currently on Amazon Prime if you want to watch it, but honestly, meh. The song choices in this film are so cheesy. I just don't understand. They chose like 80s hit classics like Somebody to Love from Queen and like Madonna, but then they also chose modern day songs that are on the radio today, and I just felt like it was very confusing. It felt like Glee. I would have just preferred the Cinderella classic songs, and I also would have preferred strictly modern day songs, but the back and forth of it and the auto-tune and the singing. My question is, why couldn't Camila Cabello sang her own songs if they're all going to be just covers of songs that already exist? Like, why not? Why can't she do her own music then? And also, why couldn't Shawn Mendes have been the prince? Because that would have made a big difference, I think. I like that Camila Cabello was Cinderella. She is from Miami, she's Cuban. I am too. So I appreciate that she was Cinderella. It's a nice little twist. It was okay. It was kind of bad. But not as bad as the next film, He's All That, which is also on Netflix, by the way. I believe it is the worst movie on this list for sure. It's a new film, 2021 as well. It's a romance that features the TikTok star Addison Rae. And it also features the annoying kid from Cobra Kai. An influencer who specializes in makeovers bets that she can transform an unpopular classmate into a prom king. It's a spin-off from the original film in the 90s, She's All That, which I never cared for. I honestly just skimmed through it because I had no patience to actually sit there and watch every single thing. But from what I got, super cringy, really bad acting, dumb plot, just not it. Next we have Nightbooks. This is another new Netflix film that just came out. It is actually kid-friendly horror and fantasy. Scary Story fan Alex must tell a spine-tingling tale every night or stay trapped with his new friend in a wicked witch's magical apartment forever. No, I liked the concept about the film, but about halfway I just stopped caring, I'm not gonna lie. And it just didn't catch my attention the whole way through. I think it's good for kids. Another Netflix film that just came out is called Prey. It is a German thriller survival film. Roman and his brother Albert and their friends go on a hiking trip into the wild. The group soon finds themselves in a desperate bid for survival when they realize that they have fallen prey to a mysterious shooter. So basically it's a bunch of guys who keep getting shot at mysteriously while they're in a forest. It was entertaining enough, but it's not a movie that stands out. It's one of those movies that I had to look up afterwards and remember what it was, because off my head I didn't remember what Prey was, so that's not always a good sign. So this next film I've been so excited to talk about because it is so bad. It's called The Stay. It's a 2021 mystery thriller. When two couples rent a scheduled house for a weekend getaway, they encounter an odd caretaker living on the property and become increasingly suspicious of his potentially sinister motives. So what's weird is that when you go on Rotten Tomatoes and you type this film in, you see a 97%, which makes no sense because nobody's watching this film. And actually the director is the main actor in the film. Maybe he just paid for those reviews, I don't know, but there's no way this film is a 97%. It is poor quality. It looks like it was filmed with a camcorder, but like in a not cool indie way, like in a cheap low budget film style way. It felt like a Lifetime, like a bad Lifetime movie. It's a very amateur film and I don't know why we came across it and I don't know how it happened. It's free on Tubi if you're curious to see what I'm talking about, but I would not pay for this film. Do not pay for it. The next film is Candyman, and not the new one. We haven't gone to the theaters to see it yet. I don't know if we will. Comment down below and let me know if you've seen the new Candyman and what you thought. But this is the 1992 Candyman, the original. Skeptical graduate student Helen befriends Anne-Marie while researching superstitions in a housing project on Chicago's near North Side. From Anne-Marie, Helen learns about the Candyman, a knife-wielding figure of urban legend that some of her neighbors believe to be responsible for a recent murder. It's a classic slasher film. I like that I didn't expect where it would go. I really didn't know what the story would involve or where. I like that I didn't know what to expect. And I will say it was pretty brutal and graphic, so. Next is Dead Silence, which is a James Wan film, which we obviously got inspired to watch because of Malignant. So we decided to look through his films and we were like, what film have we not seen by James Wan? And Dead Silence showed up. It's a 2007 thriller horror that has to do with a ventriloquist and dummies and dolls. So if you find dolls creepy, it's a good one. After his wife meets a grisly end, Jamie returns to their creepy hometown of Raven's Fair to unravel the mystery of her murder. Once there, he discovers the legend of Mary Shaw, a murdered ventriloquist whose eerie presence still looms over the town. This movie's spooky, but boring. Kind of boring. Slow burner as well. And the ending has like the strangest plot twist that kind of makes no sense, but whatever. It's definitely not one of the director's best films, but you know, we were curious. We wanted to see what else he's done, and you know, it's okay. The next movie is actually a recommendation, and it's called Fallen. It's a 1998 thriller crime style movie. After witnessing the execution of serial killer Edgar Reese, whom he arrested, police detective John Hobbs and his partner soon began investigating another murder whose mode of operation is eerily similar to Reese's. This movie has Denzel Washington and John Goodman, and it's actually really good. We were pleasantly surprised. If you've ever seen The Twilight Zone, like the series, there is an episode called The Who of You. The same thing in that episode happens in this film. As I was watching the movie, I was like, hey, I've seen this before, and then it hit me that I saw it at The Twilight Zone, which obviously the movie came first, so now I know the Twilight Zone copied this movie probably, but it has the same idea, which I don't want to give away anything. Now for something completely different, Sweat, which is a 2020 Polish drama. It's also one of those like slice of life films that I love. A beloved fitness influencer seemingly has it all. Thousands of social media followers, endorsement deals, and photo spreads in magazines. However, as she starts to share more online, the rising pressure from concerned sponsors and the increasing obsessive fans forces her to confront her deepest insecurities. It deals with online stalkers, social media, like the pressure of trying to look perfect online, and the main actress is great. She was very fun to watch the whole film. It's more on the serious tone if you're into social media and the idea of, you know, becoming an influencer and all that. I thought it was an interesting movie. I really liked where it went. Going back into thrillers, we have The Guest. This is a 2014 thriller action film that's actually on Netflix. And the main character is played by Dan Stevens, who is the Beast in Beauty and the Beast in the remake, live action, whatever. A string of mysterious deaths leads a teenager to become suspicious of a soldier who showed up at her family's doorstep and claims to be a friend of her dead brother. Honestly, this film was fun. It definitely becomes more of an action film by the end. It definitely gets a little crazy, and I don't know, I thought it was a fun ride. I think it's worth watching if you're looking for thrillers. Another thriller to add to your list, Cry Wolf. This is a film from 2005, so if you like that early 2000s horror thrillers, then you'll probably like this, and it's on Amazon Prime, I believe. 8 unsuspecting high school seniors at an expensive boarding school come face to face with terror and learn that nobody believes a liar, even when they're telling the truth. Another pleasantly surprised film that we enjoyed. It doesn't have the best reviews when I was looking it up, and it's not like it stands out. If you're looking for just more films to add to your list for the Halloween vibes, I do think this one kind of has that. It's kind of like a slasher film, but it's like a pretty weak one. Goosebumps, the 2015 film with Jack Black. We had never seen it, and it's actually a lot of fun, so another fun recommendation for the month of October if you haven't seen it, and one that you can see with your kids. Upset about moving from the big city to a small town, young Zach Cooper finds a silver lining when he meets his beautiful neighbor Hannah. The teen is surprised to learn that Hannah's mysterious father is R.L. Stine, the famous author of the best-selling Goosebumps series. Every single monster and concept that was in Goosebumps, the books, are just all thrown into this film, and it becomes this chaotic ride that is actually a lot of fun. Again, it's kid-friendly. I thought it was funny, enjoyable, entertaining, you know, can't complain. I like Jack Black, so. Next up we have Psycho, the 1960s slasher thriller classic of its time, which is crazy that I had never seen this film. And I'm gonna be honest, the reason why I had never seen it is because I'm not like in love with the idea of seeing old films. Because it's in black and white, I always was like hesitant, and I know that sounds so dumb. I think I just had the stigma that it would be like kind of boring, and I'm not gonna lie. The horror in this is so tamed and mild compared to the horror films of today that, you know, it felt slow, but I know it's a classic. Okay, we're almost there. Practical Magic, another film I added to this list because I was looking for fall films and films that would get me excited for Halloween. And this is a film about two sisters. It's a 1998 fantasy romance film. It definitely has all the fall vibes. It has Sandra Bullock in it and Nicole Kidman, and Nicole Kidman is so stunning in this movie. Oh my god. But I hate to admit it because I know this is a movie that has like a cult following. It was so boring. I really tried to get into this film, I would start watching it and then I would get on my phone because it was so slow. It's just, I didn't think it was that interesting. I liked the aesthetic of the film, but I didn't love the plot and I didn't care for the characters that much, so yeah, I don't know, sorry. So some of the last films that I mentioned are all rewatches and films that I've seen before, but they just make me happy, so I'm gonna throw them in here anyways because they happened. The first one is Labyrinth, one of my favorite films to rewatch. It's a 1986 fantasy musical with David Bowie, who I love. This movie just makes me happy. The ballroom scene, like, I just want to go to a Labyrinth themed ball someday and have an excuse to live my best Sarah life and pretend that I'm in this film. But the music and the little puppets, and I just love this film. Next up we have the Steven Spielberg classic 1993 Jurassic Park. This film just always gets me excited to go to Universal Studios, and it is such a classic, and we'll be going soon at the end of October to go to Halloween Horror Nights, so it just gets me excited for that. And there's something about that music when you hear it, it just takes me back to the Jurassic Park ride. It's just a good film. Hocus Pocus, Nightmare Before Christmas, and Halloweentown. 3 movies I saw while I was decorating my house into Halloween mode, which if you haven't seen that video, I'll link up above. But I basically watched all 3 of those in the background because I've seen them a lot. Like, they're definitely, I rewatch them every single year. And there's not much to say except they are awesome and they are the perfect Halloween movies. Okay, the last thing I'm gonna talk about is very random, but it is the Canadian TV series from the early 2000s, Degrassi. This was the time before Drake was Drake and he was Jimmy. If you've ever seen this series, let me know and comment down below because I grew up watching it. It used to be on Teen Nick and I was like 12 years old when I started watching it. And there's like 13 seasons now. I never finished all the seasons, but I remember starting when I was like a kid and the people in the show were kids and then kind of growing up with them every season. And then at some point I got older and kind of stopped watching, but I started rewatching it for nostalgic purposes and it holds up. I love it. It's the first show that ever introduced like serious topics like sex and drug abuse and racism, homophobia, and it really kind of taught me a lot. And I'm just rewatching it all over again and I'm on season 3 now. And I don't think I'm stopping anytime soon. I think I might just end up rewatching the entire thing. So if you were a fan of Degrassi, let me know because I would love to talk about Degrassi with you. So that's what I watched in the month of September, and I'm very excited for October because I'm doing 31 days of Halloween and horror films, which won't be that hard because I just mentioned 30 different things. So 31 is not much of a challenge. Let me know if you watch any of the shows that I mentioned or the movies, and happy October. Toodaloo!